Hey, don't weave yet.
It's art time with Mr. Mayberry. Let's get busy.
Welcome to Art Time with Mr. Mayberry. Weaving can be a fun indoor activity or something that you can do as you're traveling. Today I'm going to show you how to make a weaving. For this project you'll need yarn, cardboard, and scissors. So let's get started. It's time to make some art. Okay, today we're starting a weaving, and the first thing we need is a loom, something to weave on. And I'm going to be using cardboard for our loom today. Now, if you look around, you could probably find sources of cardboard around the house. This is off of a legal pad. So this is one option that you could use, like a used pad of paper that might have a cardboard back to it. You need something that's going to be kind of sturdy. This is lightweight and flexible, so that would work well for what we're doing. I've chosen, though, this is a piece of just corrugated cardboard, and I'm using a size that I cut that is 7 inches wide and 10 inches tall. It's a nice, comfortable size to carry. You could use larger than this. If you use a larger piece, it will take longer to complete the project. But I wouldn't. You could go smaller than this, but this seems like it's about a nice size to hold and have a nice finished product when we get done. What I've done then is take a ruler and measured and marked every ½ inch across the top. I made a mark, and then the same thing at the bottom. Lined it up with the ruler, and at every ½ inch made a line, made a red line there. Then I went back and I cut notches out where the lines were, and did that on both ends. The next thing we do is we take a long piece of yarn, and you'll tape it to the back, and then we'll run it through that first notch. You go all the way from the top to the bottom, and then go into the notch straight down at the bottom. On the back side, you go over to the next notch, and then on the front you go across the whole thing and back to the top. And you just repeat this process until we get the loom strung. We get all of the strings or all the yarn onto the loom. And what we're doing now is we're making the warp threads, and the warp threads are the part that we weave in and out of. And you have to have those. That's the first step when we actually prepare the loom. We have the first thing we put on the loom is the warp. Now there are some looms that are small like this one, then other looms are large. Some of them even look like musical instruments with pedals and handles and things you turn, and there's all different sizes. So if you find that this is something you like to do, you might look into other things that you can use for your looms, actual larger looms. You might want to look into doing something like that if you really like doing what we're doing today. Okay, so here is our loom that's prepared. Then I'll tape it on the back, this other piece, and it'll be ready to weave on. Okay, and that'll hold it in place as we're weaving. Okay, the next step is to prepare what's called the woof, and it's spelled W-E-F-T, but it's pronounced woof. And this is these will be the strings or yarn that goes. It's actually what weaves in and out. It goes over and under and over and under. Okay, so what I'm going to be using for that is I have a multicolor yarn that I'm going to be using, and I've wrapped some around my hand 20 times, and then that seems to be a good amount to work with. If you try to use the whole ball of yarn when you work, it's too cumbersome. It's too much to work with. So it's good to work with smaller amounts and finish part of it, and then you'll add more yarn as you go. Also, you can create a pattern if you have different colors of yarn that you want to use as well. So anyway, I've taken that yarn that I wrapped around my hands, and sometimes what people do is they'll make what's called a shuttle. It's either a piece of wood, or we could use cardboard, just a smaller piece, not very wide, not very long, and that you would wrap the yarn around, and then the whole thing will travel across. It will take the yarn from one place to another. So it's like a form of transportation, like a shuttle. So it takes you from one place to another and goes back. As a shuttle, that's what shuttles do. They go to one spot and then they turn around and come back to where they started from. And so that's what you could use a shuttle. In this case, what I'm going to do is use a tongue depressor, a popsicle stick, and I've just attached the yarn to one end. I taped it, and then I'm going to use this more like a needle. Okay, and so I'm going to thread back and forth with that. First, though, I want to start off by taking the one end, the other end that's not attached to the stick, and I'm going to attach that to the loom here itself, to the warp. Okay, so I'm going to take it, I'm going to wrap it around this first one and just tie a double knot. So I'm going to wrap it around and pull, and then I wrap it around itself again and pull it tight. Okay, so it's knotted on there so it doesn't come off. And then you can trim that off. Don't cut too close to the knot because then it'll just fall off, it'll fall apart. Okay, so I've trimmed it off. Then I'm going to go ahead and use my needle here, and I'm going to go, the reason I like to use this, you can just go with the yarn itself, but this way you can do, it's easier to get it all the way through. So I'm going to go over this one, under the next one, over, under, and do that all the way across as far as this will go, and then I can pull it on through. I'm going to pull it on through, and then I'm going to keep it going here. So that was under, so go over this one, under, over, and now I can go all the way through to the end. And then I just pull this on through all the way. And you see, if you had a really, really long piece, it'd take you a long time to pull the whole thing through. So, like I said, 20 times wrapped around your hand seems to be about a good amount to work with at one time and not get all tangled up. Okay, so it's going under, over, all the way across to the end. At the end, it goes over the last piece. So what I need to do then is, with my tongue depressor here, with my needle, I'm going to go under this one and then go back the other way. And this is opposite of what the first row was. So where it's under here, this green yarn is under, down here it's going to go over. And this creates the pattern, like a basket weave kind of a pattern. And that's, if you have it going all in the same place, then it doesn't look right, and it's truly not a finished weaving. Okay, so what that gets out it all the way through, then I pull it and just pull it all the way through. Now if you pull too tight, it's going to gather together like this, so you want to pull it so that it doesn't do that. It's going to do a little bit of that naturally anyway, but you don't want to pull too tight together in the middle. So I want to make sure that these are about the same width all the way down as I go along. You might have to pull it back out just a little to keep that distance apart. Okay, and then I'm going to push that up as far as it will go. And I could use the stick for that as well if I wanted to, or just use my fingers and push that up as far as it'll go. And then I'm going to go back the other way. Now here it goes under this last piece, so I'm going to start by going over that last piece, and under, over, all the way across. And then once I get going all the way across, then I can pull it through. And you just keep doing this till you get all the way to the bottom of the loom. You fill up the whole loom, then will be filled with weaving all the way down to the bottom. And then next week I'm going to show you how to finish that off. Now I'm going to do a little bit here. I'll do some for a while, and then I'm going to show you what happens when you run out of yarn and you're ready for a new piece. So let me do some of this, and then I'll come back and show you how to connect a new piece to what we're working with already. Okay, as you can see, I've completed this much here, and this shows you, this is another reason I like to use the multicolor, is because you can just keep using the same yarn and it creates its own kind of a pattern here without really even any thought. You just kind of do it, and you end up with a really neat pattern. So anyway, I'm almost to the end of the yarn here. So what I'm going to do is take it off of the stick here, off of my needle. It's not really a shuttle as such, but it's a type of a shuttle. I'm going to go do what's called a square knot. I've got a second piece here that I've wrapped around my hand 20 times to get the same amount that I started with. And then I'm going to take the new piece and wrap over the old piece, around like that. And then this is still the new piece I had. I'm going to take it over the old piece again, going the other way, and it creates a kind of a square shape. So this is what's called a square knot, and I pull it tight. Don't want it to slip off, so I pull it tight. Square knot will hold really tight, and that's the main reason I'd like to use that, because it will hold tight and not come undone. Okay, and then I'll take my scissors and trim this off. Don't want to cut too close to the knot, because again, you don't want it to fall apart. But I trim it short. Okay, and so this end is ready to go. And as we weave some more, this will be hidden kind of in the pattern that we have, in the design we have. So now I take the other end and then attach it to my popsicle stick here. Another good thing about the popsicle stick is that it's flat, and so when you go over and under with it, it's easier to do it. It doesn't pry the two pieces apart too much, and it's not cumbersome. You could use a pencil or something like that, but it's a little bit, because it is round, might be harder to get in some spots. Okay, so then I just keep going with my design here. I'm down on this end, and this is under, so I'm going to start over, and I just take it across, and I just keep on with the weaving. You might notice too, it's gathering some, even though I've tried to keep the edges the same all the way down. It still naturally does want to gather some, so you have to don't want to pull too tight, or it'll gather a lot. It'll still do some, but you can keep it from doing too much. Okay, so I go across, push this up, and just keep going. But there, see how it started to gather in on either side like that. Alright, so this is where I'm going to leave you for today. Keep on weaving. Go ahead and finish all the way down towards the bottom. And you get, I don't know, about a ½ inch from the bottom. You can stop there. And next week I'm going to show you how you can finish off this weaving. So this is our project for today, starting a weaving. Keep on weaving. And next time I'll show you how we can finish this project. Thanks for coming to art class, and I'll see you next time.
See you later. Hi, bye.
Okay, you can weave now.